By all accounts, Barron Trump has matured into an unassuming young man rather than an entitled brat, but he still enjoys the finer things in life, and some of those things are much, much finer than the average college student will ever possess. Okay, so first things first, before we talk about any specific items, we should mention Barron's inheritance. An interesting thing happened back in 2023. Barron's mother, Melania, made a move to renegotiate her prenup with Donald ahead of his impending second presidential campaign. The reason for this? A source explained to Page 6, Melania is most concerned about maintaining and increasing a substantial trust for their son Barron. How substantial are we talking here? Though specific dollar amounts or any other details regarding Barron's current financial situation aren't available to the public, we do have his father's net worth to go off of, which sits around $5 billion, according to Forbes.
Damn!
Taking that number into consideration, we have to assume that Barron's piece of the Trump pie is pretty hefty. We can also infer that Barron, who as of this video is 19 years old, is currently enjoying the spoils of that trust now that he's an adult. One of the most valuable assets in that trust is the Mar-a-Lago resort in Palm Beach, Florida. First built in the 1920s for businesswoman Marjorie Merriweather Post, Donald Trump bought the property in 1985. It wasn't converted into the members-only club we know it as today until 1994. Trump has always used it as a residence, so you can bet Barron has many fond memories of running around the grounds during his childhood. Known as the crown jewel of Palm Beach, it offers luxurious accommodations for its high-paying members, which include fine dining, a spa, tennis courts, a chip and putt golf course, and 2 ridiculously extravagant ballrooms. Basically, it's set up to be an entire experience from the moment you step foot in the door. Of course, it's become a lot more than a swanky Florida resort since Donald Trump first became president back in 2017. During his first term, Trump hosted all sorts of prominent international figures, such as former Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, Chinese President Xi Jinping, or former Venezuelan President Jair Bolsonaro. And after his recent re-election, a wide range of important people stopped by to pay homage, from billionaires like Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk or Mark Zuckerberg to a large number of America's Republican senators. Over the years, estimations for its worth have fluctuated greatly, anywhere from as little as $18 million to a staggering $1 billion. You can probably guess where the high end of that estimation originated, but let's be realistic about it. As reported by Yahoo Finance, the official appraisal by Palm Beach County Property Appraisal's Office was $37 million in 2023. So taking appreciation into account, it would be worth somewhere around $40 million today. It may not be $1 billion, but hey, we bet Barron is perfectly fine with the realistic estimate.
I can live with that.
Another extremely valuable asset in the fund is the Trump National Golf Club in Bedminster, New Jersey. It doesn't have quite the reputation that Mar-a-Lago has, at least in terms of constantly being in the international spotlight. Still, it's a sight to behold. Located near the beautiful Somerset Hills, the 18-hole golf club offers a seriously luxurious experience to its members. In addition to its storied clubhouse and Olympic-sized swimming pool, it also offers fine dining, guest suites and cottages for those who wish to stay overnight, and a vast array of social events to attend. It's also known to host weddings and banquets. Unsurprisingly, the club's estimated worth has fluctuated much the same as Mar-a-Lago over the years. Trump has said that it's worth upwards of $50 million. This is his most recent estimation, per financial disclosures he had been required to provide during his run for presidency. This is, shall we say, quite a bit more realistic than some of his shoot-from-the-hip appraisals of Mar-a-Lago. According to those same financial disclosures, the club earned $37 million over a 16-month period, starting in January 2023. Not too bad, all things considered. That being said, the club will likely continue to provide the Trump family, Barron included, with a solid source of income for as long as it stays in business. While Barron has inherited a lot since turning 18, he's obviously also owned a lot of ridiculously expensive things from the very beginning. One of his priciest possessions, which technically belongs to his dad Donald Trump, dates back to the early days of his childhood. Unlike his peers at NYU, he's had an entire floor of Trump Tower to call his own since he was a toddler. His parents designated it as Barron's so that he could play to his heart's content without fear of leaving marker smears on the furniture or Play-Doh on the marble floors. The apartment features a separate kitchen and living room, plus bedrooms that his nannies once used. Can you even imagine?
He has a whole 3rd floor big enough for him to do all his projects up there.
Though Barron spent his post-White House years with his parents down at Mar-a-Lago, he moved back to their equally luxurious Manhattan home after enrolling at NYU. The Trump's entire suite costs an estimated $100 million, while an average apartment in Trump Tower goes for roughly $2 to $9 million, depending on square footage and the number of bedrooms. One of the most extravagant things you'll find tucked away somewhere in Barron's ridiculously lavish living space is actually a gift. Turns out, none other than comedian Ellen DeGeneres took it upon herself to give Barron a golden baby carriage to cruise around in not long after he was born. As if that isn't absurd enough, the carriage even has a little chandelier.
That's fancy. That's fancy.
Real fancy.
While we don't know exactly how much the carriage cost, it's safe to assume that it set DeGeneres back at least a little bit. Barron's mother, Melania, was pretty amused by the whole thing. As she told People at the time, "It's fun. It makes you laugh." It's hard to say what Barron thinks about the gift now that he's an adult and has a bit more perspective on his privileged life. We certainly wouldn't blame him for showing it off to his friends, though. Who wouldn't? Turns out, the golden baby carriage isn't the only crazy thing from Barron's childhood that's likely still chilling up there somewhere on the top floor of Trump Tower. When your father is a billionaire and your mother is a former model, chances are you'll have some pretty expensive outfits in your closet, and that's certainly the case for Barron Trump. Even as a preschooler, he was seen sporting a blazer on a 2010 special episode of Larry King Live. While we don't know the exact price of the outfit, we can safely assume it wasn't cheap. The real kicker, though, is Barron's Louis Vuitton mini briefcase, which we saw him holding like a little businessman during that same Larry King Live segment.
Now I'm gonna go.
Yeah, first you will have lunch and then you go to school.
Cute, right? Well, you might not think the price is so cute. The little briefcase reportedly cost nearly $10,000.
He understood the market.
In the years since the Larry King special, Barron has been spotted in a variety of outfits. Some are modest pieces that an average teen might buy. His The Expert t-shirt, for example, is a $30 J. Crew number that was trendy even before Barron was photographed in it. More recently, though, his tastes have swung toward the more exclusive. For his father's second inauguration, he turned to custom designer Pierce Bespoke to put together tailored suit pieces and a cashmere coat. As quality clothiers go, Pierce Bespoke is relatively reasonable, with prices starting at $900 for suits. Barron is also known to sport some pretty luxurious accessories from time to time. One such occurrence was documented very recently. On March 30th, 2025, Page Six photographers caught Barron entering Trump Tower with his mom Melania. He was wearing a black shirt and pants with a navy windbreaker, which made his one accessory even more noticeable. Prominently displayed on his wrist was a Daytona Rolex watch in 14-karat yellow gold. The timepiece features a tachymeter for measuring speed relative to time and distance. Thanks to the precision craftsmanship and self-winding feature, Barron will never have to worry about finding his watch stopped. But all that quality doesn't come cheap, of course, as it costs an estimated $47,800. One of Barron's priciest possessions is one that he's actually never seen in person, much less used. In July 2019, Mongolian President Khatmajin Batulga visited the White House to talk trade deals with President Trump. He also presented Barron, who was then 13, with an unusual gift: a horse. Mongolia's hardy horse breeds are highly valued for herding, transport, and their nutrient-rich milk. If Barron's horse came from a champion line, which seems likely, then it would be worth as much as $70,000. President Trump declared that the steed would be named Victory. Not too surprising in the least, right? Though many commanders-in-chief have stabled horses at the presidential mansion over the decades, Trump isn't known for his love of animals. And it would have been impractical for Barron to keep his new pet anyway. Instead, Batulga brought up a photo of Victory, who remained back in Mongolia. Perhaps one day, though, Barron can make the trip overseas to meet Victory at last. Okay, this one isn't a pricey possession, but it's still something that we feel is worth mentioning: Barron's expensive education. Ever since he was old enough to start attending school, Barron has been hitting the books at some of the best institutions America has to offer. He completed his primary education at Columbia Grammar and Preparatory School, which is in the Upper West Side of New York City. It's difficult to verify how expensive yearly tuition was at the time of his attendance, but the current amount for K-8 students is $67,310. So it was obviously less for him, but not too much less. After his father first became president in 2017, he began attending St. Andrew's Episcopal School in Potomac, Maryland. According to The Independent, the yearly tuition at the time was around $40,000. When his father lost the 2020 election, he followed his family down to Mar-a-Lago, Florida, and finished out the remainder of his education at Oxbridge Academy. He graduated in 2024. The yearly tuition for upper school kids is $43,400, according to the school website. Currently, Barron is enrolled in NYU's Stern School of Business. Yearly tuition costs somewhere around $67,430 for commuter students, and that doesn't include any other expenses. Assuming it takes him 4 years to complete his degree, his college education, no additional expenses included, will end up totaling somewhere around $270,000. Being that tuition tends to increase with each passing year, it will likely amount to more. So yeah, when you look at it that way, you can sort of think of Barron's brain as a thing that has monetary value. Needless to say, we're curious how Barron will put it all to use as the years go on.